The humble icon, Ty Wilson, and the architecture of a legacy. In a cavernous studio, devoid of human camera operators, a phalanx of robotic lenses silently fixated on artist Ty Wilson. He was a guest on QVC, the dominant force in 1990s direct-to-consumer sales, slotted for a 15-minute segment to sell poster art. The network's expectations were subterranean. Executives had bluntly informed him that poster art doesn't sell here. Yet, as the broadcast commenced, the call-in boards ignited. The entire inventory, meticulously prepared for a quarter hour, vanished in 7.5 minutes. The host, visibly flustered by the unprecedented velocity of the sellout, was left with dead air and an artist who had just shattered a sales category. In a state of collective shock, she summarily nudged Ty Wilson off camera, concluding the segment that cemented his status as a national phenomenon. This explosive moment of commerce was not an anomaly. It was the validation of a career built on a quiet, deliberate synthesis of discipline, instinct, and a profound understanding of the human element. Ty Wilson, an artist whose name offers no clue to his origin, had navigated the demanding corridors of corporate art at Hallmark, conquered the elite echelons of New York fashion illustration for Vogue and Harper's Bazaar, and established a transcontinental career in Paris. Long before his face became synonymous with the millions of posters sold, Ty operated as a trailblazer, often finding himself the sole African-American presence in rooms where creative and commercial destinies were decided. His journey reveals not just the trajectory of a successful artist, but the resilience of a man who used his craft as a shield, a passport, and ultimately, a mantle of representation. A shield forged in D.C. Ty's artistic provenance traces back to Washington, D.C., where he was born, and his earliest memories of art, around age 5 or 6, of sitting beside his older brother. "I just did everything that he did, and he would draw," Ty recalled in the interview. While his brother's interest eventually pivoted to sports, for Ty, the pencil became a permanent extension of himself. "It just became like breathing," he explained. He graduated from tracing cartoons to meticulously recreating Disney characters, Bugs Bunny and Charlie Brown. When his family moved to suburban Maryland at age 12, his environment began to shape his art in ways both positive and painful. "As a child I was very awkward and outcast. So I was bullied a lot," Ty shared. In this crucible of childhood cruelty, his burgeoning talent became a currency of social insulation. "What I found to be a strength was that I could draw," the bullies would actually say. "Oh, hey, that's that kid that can draw. Draw me Spider-Man." And that would get me out of a lot of tough situations. Drawing became his differentiator. This protective impulse was nurtured by the counterpressure of positive reinforcement from his encouraging mother and a succession of teachers, culminating in a private tutor hired to elevate his pencil drawings into the realm of watercolors. That support system crystallized in high school under the mentorship of his art teacher, John Smith. Smith identified a small cohort of students who, unlike their peers seeking an easy A, were serious about the craft. He challenged them with advanced assignments. Unbeknownst to Wilson, Smith was curating this work. "He put together what I didn't know at the time was a portfolio," Wilson said. Smith submitted that portfolio to the Maryland College of Art and Design, securing his protégé a scholarship. "I was floored," Ty remembered, as he had graduated high school a year early and was working, anticipating perhaps a community college path funded by his own labor. College was transformative. It was here that Ty learned to fuse passion with process. "That's the place where I learned discipline and they stressed professionalism," he stated. A professor's maxim lodged in his mind: a doctor doesn't give away an exam, a dentist doesn't give away a filling, so you don't give away your art. This philosophy reframed art as a viable, serious profession. Emboldened, Ty exhibited the chutzpah to find the famed Washington Color School artist Gene Davis in the phone book, securing an interview that proved a man could, indeed, make a life and a living as an artist. The calculated leap. Upon graduation, Wilson faced a critical bifurcation. He had two offers: a coveted, stable job at Hallmark in Kansas City, and a prestigious scholarship to continue his education at an impressive institution in New York. He hedged his bet and accepted both, traveling first to New York to test the waters. The city was very daunting and very intimidating. I quickly realized that in New York I was nobody special. I wasn't as good as I thought I was yet, he admitted. He made the calculated decision to delay his ultimate goal. He rescinded the scholarship and moved to Kansas City, viewing Hallmark not as a destination, but as a paid apprenticeship. For 4 years, Wilson worked as a production artist, a role he described as being a human scanner. Before computers, he and his department were tasked with manually recreating full-color original artworks into perfect black and white separations for the printing process. I quickly became adept at mimicking all kinds of styles of art, he said. The work was technical and grueling, but it endowed him with immense discipline and, more importantly, an ironclad certainty. It definitely gave me an idea of what I didn't want to do, which was to recreate others' art. It instilled in me the fact that I really wanted to create my own art. For years later, he was ready. He said that he took a profound chance on myself, quitting the lucrative corporate job, cashing in his profit sharing, and moving to New York with no job, one friend, and his portfolio. This time, he arrived with a strategy. In an analog era, he opened the phone book and began cold calling department stores and advertising agencies. His talent, now sharpened by years of technical mastery, was undeniable. He found success in less than a year, building a formidable career in advertising and fashion illustration. His distinct style graced shopping bags for Bloomingdale's and the editorial pages of Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, and the New York Times. New York, he affirmed, was the nucleus, a vibrant ecosystem of museums, galleries, and a community of artists that provided the influence and mentorship he needed to fully develop his voice. A transcontinental career by chance. Ty's ascension into becoming an artist who sold over 1 million pieces of art began on a lark. At the height of his advertising success, an agent suggested he show his portfolio to a poster publisher. Wilson, a commercial artist, had never considered the fine art market to be profitable. The publisher, much like QVC years later, tempered his expectations, warning him not to expect to make any money. Wilson developed a small collection, experimenting with cut paper and his signature India ink and brush style. The publisher selected 2. One was Rhythm, an African-American jazz-themed cut paper piece. The other was Embrace, a very simplistic black line drawing of a couple, accented only by the red of the lips of the girl. Embrace became a commercial juggernaut. The publisher, stunned, immediately called him back, demanding more. This new venture propelled his career to a level of financial success that afforded him a house in New Jersey with a studio, allowing him to split his time between the city and the country. His international breakthrough was equally serendipitous. On a holiday to Paris in the late 1980s, he brought his portfolio, for some reason. He carried a letter of introduction from a model friend to a prominent Parisian agent named Joel Ingrian. The letter was merely a social courtesy. Ingrian only represented photographers. Wilson arrived at the office to find Ingrian very rude and very busy, motioning for him to be quiet while he finished a phone call. After a 20-minute wait, Ingrian gestured Ty over for the portfolio. As he flipped through the pages, his demeanor changed. "What do you want to do in Paris? Do you want to work for?" he asked. Ty, confused, explained he was just a tourist who hadn't even seen the landmarks. Ingrian said, "Come with me." He put Ty in his Mercedes and proceeded to give him a high-speed movie montage tour of the city. "Here's the Arc de Triomphe. Zip. Here's the Eiffel Tower. Zip. Here's the Louvre." His intention, he said, was to get it out of the way. They went to lunch, and by the end of the day, Joel Ingrian was Ty Wilson's Parisian agent. This astonishing encounter launched a nice transcontinental life, with Ty getting an apartment in Paris and living there on and off for 3 years. His time in France, surrounded by the culture and history of the Louvre and the Henri Matisse Museum, infused his work with a new spontaneity and freedom. He became so busy that his agents in both New York and Paris complained, forcing him to choose where to stay. He ultimately chose New York, his home base, but the experience had irrevocably expanded his artistic worldview. The weight of the mantle. Throughout this meteoric rise, Ty was acutely aware of a simple fact: I was usually the only African American person in the room. From advertising agencies to client meetings, he was a solitary figure in his field. When his poster art made his name famous, the public realization that Ty Wilson was African American transformed his personal success into a public responsibility. I took that mantle on seriously, he affirmed. The first that I had made, the inroad that I had made, was a privilege. I think it's very important to lift people up the same way that you have, because nobody gets there on their own. This consciousness began to inform his creative philosophy. For years, Ty operated on James M. Cain's maxim: if your work doesn't keep you up at night, it won't keep anybody else up either, creating art selfishly for myself first. But as his recognition grew, he began receiving feedback from ethnic groups, particularly African Americans, asking for representation in my work. Where can I see myself in your work? This feedback prompted a deliberate focus on representing a greater range of people, integrating his commitment to representation with his non-negotiable standard of personal artistic integrity. Now, Ty views his career from the perspective of an elder. He is gratified to see that his legacy is not just in the millions of art pieces sold or the myriad humbling moments, like visiting a collector in the hospital who was too ill to attend a signing or learning a gallery owner had named his child after him. His true mark is in the cultural shift he helped engineer. By the fact of me being in so many rooms by myself, that now there are more people that look like me in those rooms, he reflected. It's more commonplace and it's not such an exception, and I'm very appreciative for that in any way that I might have added to that. Reflecting on the totality of his journey, Ty distills the most important lesson he learned about perseverance into a simple, powerful directive: never taking no for an answer. I really believe in the ability of a person to believe in themselves regardless of what anybody else says, and pursuing your art with all of your passion until you've exhausted all possibilities. From the awkward kid deflecting bullies with a Spider-Man sketch to the icon who outsold QVC's wildest expectations, Ty Wilson's career is a testament to that belief, an architecture of a legacy built one yes at a time, in rooms that had usually only knew no.